I do want to shift gears because somebody who's going to impact winning potentially is Mitchell Robinson. Potentially Mitchell Robinson may impact winning. And if he does come back, it seems like there's some whispers, there's some murmurs that Mitchell Robinson's return could be, I wouldn't say around the corner, but like I'll just say it seems people feel a little bit more confident about Mitchell Robinson than even Julius Randle at this point, is what it seems like. Which, sucks to say, but like it does mean like there is some confidence around Mitch. And, we did see a note from friend of the pod, Fred Katz, who mentioned, based on conversations today at practice today, is what he said in his tweet. I'll say there's a strong probability Mitchell Robinson comes off the bench once he returns. I think that that's such an interesting note for a lot of reasons. One being, obviously, I've been hugely in favor of Isaiah Hartenstein being the full-time starter, whether Mitchell Robinson's been around or is back or not. That's something I said as far back as in December, something I've thought as far back as when they first signed Isaiah Hartenstein. So I think that that's something that I appreciate the Knicks or whoever Fred is hearing these conversations from, making this suggestion. But I also think that it's really interesting in terms of the Knicks trying to find offense with their second unit. This has been a conversation all year, essentially, once they moved quickly. How can they find offense in the second unit? Do we need to get a Malcolm Brogdon? Do we need to get a Jordan Clarkson? Thank God they didn't get Jordan Clarkson. That's been a conversation. But how did the Knicks get offense last year? Were they very efficient? Were they able to like generate really high percentage looks? Did they have really awesome offensive engines who were just able to kind of get whatever they wanted at the basket or wide open threes? No, the Knicks didn't shoot a very high percentage from effective field goal percentage standpoint. They started to once they got Josh Hart, but overall in the season, they didn't. The Knicks had a top 3 offense largely contingent on one, Mitchell Robinson's ability to get offensive rebounds. The ability to get offensive rebounds, have extra chances, turn possessions into from low efficiency possessions into effective possessions because they had 1, 2, 3 opportunities to score. Mitchell Robinson comes back and comes off the bench. Does Mitchell Robinson, in such a weird roundabout way, actually resolve the Knicks' second unit offensive issues and dilemmas because he is able to score or he's able to help the Knicks score even despite being an inefficient second unit? The Knicks have shown that with Mitchell Robinson, they can still be effective despite being inefficient. And I just think it's such a weird and interesting wrinkle with Mitchell Robinson off the bench. He may be the answer offensively for the Knicks, which is so weird to say, but I'm curious your thoughts on that. It's just a really interesting way to think about it.
Yeah, most people will think that like, oh, we're shoring up the rim protection, which they are. That's what I thought. I don't know if you saw this, but Fred had a really cool story about Mitchell Robinson not viewing himself as a shot blocker. I feel like that's really symbolic of his evolution as a basketball player, especially to Knicks fans like us who were there in 2018 and 2019 and 2020 when there was nothing positive about the team except for the few Mitchell Robinson minutes, because per minute he was like a per minute darling. But if you think back to who Mitch was back then, and even the start of the We Here season, I think Thibodeau was really helpful in getting him to see the forest through the trees. But if you think back to Mitch back then, he was leaping at everything, and he doesn't do that anymore. He's one of the most disciplined defenders in the entire NBA now. So the Knicks will be getting rim protection back, but to your point, they're also getting the league's best offensive rebounder in the entire NBA. And the thing is that so Hartenstein this season, his offensive rebound percentage is 15.1%. It's in the 98th percentile. That's really good. So when you think about replacing Mitchell Robinson with Isaiah Hartenstein, it's like, okay, he has the best defensive EPM in the NBA this season. Still remarkable. So you're not losing that much on defense when you when you switch from Mitch to Hartenstein. He's, as I just alluded to, at the top of the league in offensive rebound percentage. You're not losing that much on the offensive glass. where you're making up for all of that is the bench minutes, because as admirably as Precious Achiuwa has played, he's not close to Hartenstein or Mitchell Robinson. I would say his best skill set is how switchable he is as a defender and his energy. He's great. Like he never stops. The engine never stops. And at center, his lack of shooting doesn't hurt him as much. He's been really, really good at defense and offensive rebounding this season. He's in the 94th percentile in offensive rebound percentage, which is insane. And he's in the 82nd percentile in defensive EPM. It's still going to be a meaningful upgrade. Mitchell Robinson is just a different beast. You can almost say that the especially when it comes to offensive rebounding, the numbers don't do it justice, because it's not just that he attacks the offensive glass and he puts the defenses in tough spots. He meaningfully affects other coaches' game plans in a way that Precious Achiuwa and even Isaiah Hartenstein don't do. I mean, you heard Eric Spoelstra talk about it last season. Yes, they wanted to stop Jalen Brunson, but they were fine with Jalen Brunson scoring 40 points. Their game plan was to make sure that they won the possession battle and stop Mitchell Robinson from doing what he did against Cleveland. And I feel like Knicks fans are forgetting how important he was to everything that the Knicks did last season. Now, I would have, and I think I did when you first brought it up, when you first were like, "Are we sure Hartenstein shouldn't be starting?" I would have scoffed at the idea at the beginning of the season that Hartenstein should supplant Mitch in the starting lineup, because I just thought it was clear that Mitch was elite and is elite at what he's elite at, and that mattered in the starting lineup. But with Hartenstein's leap, I at least understand it. I at least understand if you believe that Hartenstein's leap is sustainable and is real, and you think the Knicks are going to be getting these things. You're not trading off that much on the offensive glass or defense, and you're getting all of this gravity and passing that you just don't get. It's a pretty easy change. And that leaves these bench minutes. And to your point, I think the Knicks are just getting a huge upgrade. And something we talked about before we hopped on the pod, he's going to be playing a lot of backup bigs in these short shifts. You know, if he's playing 18 to 22 minutes a night and he doesn't have to, it's not like Bam Adebayo is starting the game and he's starting against Hartenstein, and then Bam comes out and Mitchell Robinson's taking on these backup bigs. Like, what is Spoelstra going to do? Let's just say the Knicks played the Heat again, and it was this version of Hartenstein playing this elite a level, attacking the offensive glass and defending like this. What does Spoelstra do? Because
and then you come off the bench and you bring in Mitch, and then Kevin Love has to battle with Mitchell Robinson on the boards using his length. I mean, Kevin Love's obviously one of the best rebounders ever, but Kevin Love is, I don't know how old Kevin Love is now, but he's not the same guy he used to be.
He was born in 88, so he's 35 or 36, I guess.
Yeah, Kevin Love's not dealing with a fresh Mitchell Robinson off the bench fight where he's coming in to essentially like, Mitch, just go get all the rebounds. I'm sorry, that's not going to work out well for Kevin Love. It's not going to work out well for Chris on Twitter. Chill but vibrant is his tag. Made a comment to something I said. Goga Batazzi just woke up in a sweat. Goga Batazzi's not battling a fresh Mitchell Robinson coming off the bench, just getting every rebound. Like, I'm sorry, all the backup bigs in the East are just not going to be able to deal with that. It's just not. They're just not going to.
You know who, weirdly enough, would be not well suited?
The Pacers,
but no, the Cavs. Not because no, just hear me out here. I'm not saying they're
I'll listen. I'll hear you out.
I'm not saying they're well suited, but because my point is the rest of the East bench units are going to get so crushed. This is relative to that. Like, there's no one who's even close.
No, yeah.
But the Cavs, with their new staggering of bigs, might actually be able to line up Jarrett Allen with the Mitchell Robinson bench minutes.
Oh, yeah. That's interesting. I thought you were going to say Evan Mobley at the 5. I was like, yeah, it's just not going to work.
I think they're going to try to stagger those two, and Bickerstaff is going to very quickly realize that Jarrett Allen needs to be out there for the Mitchell Robinson minutes.
Yeah.
And so the way he's going to stagger them is he's going to pull Allen early in the first and third quarter and then reinsert him for Mobley when Mitch comes off the bench late in the first.
Yeah. That's it's a really great point. Yeah, go ahead.
And I mean, if you go across the league and look at, like you just said, the Heat have Kevin Love. All right, next. The Bucks have Bobby Portis. Bobby Portis is big, but I mean, good luck.
No. Yeah.
The Celtics, Al Horford. Next, like
not gonna be able to fight. No, I mean that's what I thought you were gonna say. The Pacers with like a Jalen Smith kind of Siakam, tandem maybe could fight, a little bit. I don't know.
No, I don't. Yeah, no, I don't see that. I actually think Jared Allen as the starter, who, if they're able to do their rotations like that, would have the best chance. And so that's all I was saying.
Sure.
I will say, just so we don't come off as like irrational, cocky Knicks fans, a couple of these guys we've mentioned, Kevin Love, Bobby Portis, Jalen Smith, Al Horford, while Mitchell Robinson will dispose of them on the offensive glass, they have their own ways of making Mitch pay on the other end of the court because they can shoot.
That's a very good point. Very good point for sure. I think that there's definitely a trade-off, and I'm glad you brought that up on the other end. But I at least the key insight to me is that this may help the second unit with their offensive struggles in particular. Still have to work things out on the other end. Just like you said, all those guys you mentioned are going to be able to space the floor, and we know that Mitch has trouble dealing with that. So there will be a give and take potentially, but I do think that this will help the Knicks at least with some of their offensive issues when Jalen Brunson's on the court.